So in the spirit of Do It Live, I just pulled over in Gallup, New Mexico in the nick of time. And am I Etienne de la Boetie? Am I Howard Lickman? What is today's topic that I'm expected to expound upon? Thomas?
It's basically a review of what happened. It's basically a review of what happened last week in autonomy. So whatever you feel is important, highlights, things you might have captured along the way. So
Howard, since you've been on the road, let's just make it easy for you, because we're already triggering your complexity in Gallup, New Mexico. So just be yourself. Talk to the students about like your projects, what you're doing, challenges, obstacles, maybe get some of their feedback. You know, you can just have a conversation. The Do It Live platform doesn't have to be this week in autonomy review, though if we don't have something more interesting to talk about, that's a good default. You're coming from, you got all these activities, you're doing deals, you're negotiating, you're encountering obstacles, you're conquering them. That's a much more interesting and fulfilling and useful, I think, use of your time and the class's time. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds good. And so, you know, I can tell you that, so I've been driving cross country from Florida to pick up a vehicle. It's been 29 hours. But I've been doing my autonomy work along the way, and I was just listening to the fifth class, and so I've been keeping up with the class curriculum. For those on the call who don't know me, my name is Howard Lickman. I write as the voluntarist author Etienne de la Boetie². And so part of the reason that I latched onto autonomy was because I've got a lot of kind of the same needs in the way of kind of next generation marketing that some of the course has. And I'm also a voluntarist and constantly looking for ways to unindoctrinate myself from what I've been indoctrinated into, whether that indoctrination was the mandatory government school system or whether that indoctrination was just the constant cacophony of what I like to call the artificial culture, constantly trying to detox myself from whether it was something done to me or whether I self-imposed it by wasting time that I shouldn't have. So I'm constantly trying to improve that. I'm a lifelong learner. And I'm in the middle of another kind of like really major, you know, project that I'm working with Autonomy Unlimited on. And so the ability to put the course together with the real world work we're doing at Autonomy Unlimited is good. I guess I could take everybody kind of through a little review of like what I'm doing. And so just to, you know, show that like, you know, some of like what we're, you know, like applying in the class is, you know, kind of real world example. And so I'll take everybody through. So I'm, in addition to being the author of Government, the Biggest Scam in History, I am the founder of a startup public policy organization called the Art of Liberty Foundation. And so the Art of Liberty Foundation is kind of the umbrella organization for my books, whether it be Government, the Biggest Scam in History, or my next book, which I'm working on, which will be called Voluntarism. And the short version of what we're trying to do with the Art of Liberty Foundation is that we're trying to have a voluntarist think tank that is exposing how intergenerational organized crime runs the government, the media, and academia, and doing it from the same quality of scholarship that you would expect from, let's say, a Cato or a Heritage or American Enterprise Institute or any of the other kind of big think tanks in DC. And so the thing that kind of makes us unique is we're trying to and I'll just kind of take you to our website and show you what makes us different. But number one is that we're coming at the problem from a principled, voluntarist perspective that government is always illegitimate. And so I'm sure many of you guys have seen this diamond-shaped chart. Sometimes it's known as the Nolan chart. Sometimes it's known as, it's popularized by advocates for self-government, but it's a way of taking a look at the political spectrum that is much more precise than the left-right political perspective that the government, school, and the media are always pushing. Because where does voluntarism fit into the left or right spectrum? It doesn't fit anywhere. Therefore, it's an unhelpful, undescriptive analogy that needs to be scrapped. And so there is a MIT student by the name of David Nolan. He said, "Hey, this is a much better way of describing the political spectrum." And the way he did it is two axes: more personal freedom and more economic freedom. And if you think about it, if you favor more economic freedom but less personal freedom, okay, you are kind of traditionally right wing, right? You're for low taxes and you're for low government regulation, but government ought to, keep the demon weed out of the society, and we need to stop prostitution and no gambling and other controlling society. And so kind of it like that is kind of very, very descriptive. Some people, they're for lots of personal freedom but very little economic freedom. And so if you think about the left wing, plenty of personal freedom, LBGQTMS, whatever all the other letters are, plus of course we shouldn't arrest sex workers. Of course we shouldn't arrest people for smoking cannabis. Of course we shouldn't do these things. But we have to control economic freedom. And so if you've got a lot of personal freedom, but you've got a little bit of economic freedom, then you've got traditionally what we would call, a left-wing view. And so with the Nolan chart, it expands it to being able to encompass, well, what if you're for a whole lot of personal freedom and you're for a whole lot of economic freedom? Well, then you're up here at the top of the chart and you're voluntarist. And so, so if you take a look at, and if you want less personal freedom and you want more, and you want less economic freedom, well, then you're in more authoritarian land. And so that is a much better political landscape that is much more descriptive. It is much more precise. And coincidentally, in a happy kind of coincidence, it puts voluntarism at the top, which really where it belongs, because non-aggression principle, capital creation of the market, recognition of the spontaneous order of the universe, and that the world is a self-organizing system that doesn't really need a lot of economic regulation and freedom regulation. Everything kind of just sorts itself out once government gets out of the way of control. And so that's kind of how we're looking to separate ourselves in the marketplace of ideas. I made a big, chasm right here, and I hung the Ludwig von Mises Institute over it. And that chasm represents at the top, this, the kind of the capstone of the pyramid: government is illegitimate, undesirable, and unnecessary. And then everything below the chasm is that government is legitimate, desirable, and necessary. And one of the things that you'll notice in traditional Washington, D.C., is that everybody is playing along that government is legitimate. It's legitimate that they get to take our money. It's legitimate that they get to make up rules for everybody. And so that is, to me, is the big confidence game of Washington, D.C., and where we want to differentiate ourselves, because we're saying, hey, government is illegitimate from the outset. You can't delegate rights you don't have yourself. You can't be bound by a social contract you didn't sign. You can't be, democracy is two wolves and a sheep deciding what's for dinner. It's always illogical. It's always immoral. And so, number one, the thing that separates us from everybody else, I put Ludwig von Mises kind of straddling the line, because some scholars at the Mises Institute are minarchists, and some scholars at the Mises Institute are voluntarists. but I don't believe that Mises takes a position on the legitimacy or the desirability of government as an institution versus, so I just kind of put them kind of as straddling the line because they've got a lot of good voluntarist scholars there that are doing good work, but they're not, openly saying that government is illegitimate. And so that's something that we're doing. The other thing that separates us from the other people is that we're trying to take a look and do scholarship around that government is inherently illegitimate. It is being run by organized crime interests that are using government as a technique to personally enrich themselves by transferring money through government, laundering it through government to cartel companies, to giving banks the ability to engage in fractional reserve banking. So we're saying, hey, this is a robbery. We're being robbed, whether it's for weapon systems that we don't need based on wars and for wars based on lies and manufactured intelligence, or whether it's the exorbitant privilege of banks getting to create money out of thin air, even though that's inflationary and even though that's stealing money out of everybody else's pocket. And so we're saying that not only is it illegitimate, but it's criminal, and we're collecting the evidence of government's kind of open criminality, whether we're talking about trillions of dollars missing from the Pentagon, billions of dollars in physical cash missing from Afghanistan and Iraq, the Pentagon's Bishop's Fund, $14,000 toilet seats, $400,000 F-35 helmets, $35 million bases that they didn't really want but got built anyway just to line somebody's pockets at Halliburton or KKR or one of the other cartel subsidiary companies. So this is we're trying to, number one, help people by visualizing what that system looks like. So if you said what were the other things that make us different, we do a lot with visualizations and trying to take complex subjects and use visualization to make what was invisible now visible. So we're going to be using if you didn't understand that there were 6 companies running hundreds and hundreds of subsidiaries in the monopoly media, we're going to show you a media chart of what that looks like so that you come to a deeper understanding and you retain that information longer. We're going to show you how dozens and dozens of ostensibly independent reporters, editors, and publishers at ostensibly independent dozens and dozens of ostensibly independent news organizations, how they all come together in 3 organizations, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Bilderberg Group, Trilateral Commission, and that they've maneuvered their members into these key reporterships, editorships, publisherships. And then once you can use visualization to make connections that were previously invisible, now visible, now you come to kind of like a deeper understanding of what we're trying to do. And so so kind of that's the mission and the goal of the Art of Liberty Foundation. And so how are we going about doing that? And the main way that we're doing that is with our book, Government: The Biggest Scam in History. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it easy for people that have never taken a look at these concepts, whether it be voluntarism, whether it be government criminality, and we're making what was a very complicated subject kind of much easier to understand, because we're going to deliver it to the audience as a picture book. And so our idea is, number one, is how do you make it, how do you take really, really, complex topics, and how do you make it easy for the population to understand? And so the way that we do it is we do it in a very picture-rich book that uses a variety of different learning techniques to take somebody from kind of 0 to 60 on these very, very important topics. Some of those learning techniques are repetition of the method. So human beings are really, really good pattern recognition machines. And so if you expose the historical pattern, and so the first part of the book is, we take a look at 20 plus techniques used to create the culture of slavery, tax slavery. And then we show what it looked like in Nazi Germany, the US government, the Soviet Union, and East Germany. And when you lay them out next to each other, then all of a sudden the reader comes to that insight that, oh, wait a minute, that's a playbook, that's artificial. They're running game on me. The United States is using the exact same techniques as the Nazis, the Soviets, and the East German. And then boom, they come to that moment of insight because they saw the pattern with their own eyes, or they saw the hidden connections between ostensibly independent reporters, editors, and publishers. They saw the ownership of, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of, independent newspapers, radio stations, TV stations, all rolling up to a small handful of companies that are kind of operating as a cartel. And because when people see that with their own eyes, they come into that, that deep insight. Then they have that moment of insight, and you're able to kind of hopefully, fish them out of the matrix. I'm not saying it works on everybody, but we've been very, very successful in waking people up. So the book in 2019 sold about 200 copies. In 2020, it sold about 800 copies. So far this year, we've sold over 3,000 plus copies. And we've got true exponential growth on the book, because what we're doing is we're selling what we call friends bundles. And a friends bundle is 5 copies, 10 copies, 5 copies plus 10 liberators or 5 liberators. And through the generosity of a donor to the Art of Liberty Foundation, we can sell these kind of low cost friends bundles. And so people are taking these friends bundles and they are putting them into libraries. They're putting them into little mini libraries in neighborhoods. They're putting them into libraries and laundromats. They're putting them into, they're making coffee table books in Airbnbs. And so we've got about 4% for, so then I'll just bring it back to like, okay, so from a business standpoint, so we've got this book, it's viral. So how do we sell more of it? How do we get it into more countries? We've sold to 20 plus countries. How do we get it into more countries? And how do we update it for the COVID? And so right now I'm in the process of trying to update the book for a 5th edition. And this 5th edition will bring the book into the age of the COVID, where I'm going to kind of present the best evidence of foreknowledge, the best evidence of disaster capitalism, the best evidence of empty hospitals, non-pandemic conditions, faking the numbers, faking the tests, and all of the other little tricks and techniques that the government and media, and to a degree academia, has foisted through their ability to control information hierarchically through society, through organizations like the CDC, medical training, county, state health departments, pushing down to county health departments, pushing down to, like little towns and cities, policy, prescriptions. And so, in redoing the book for the 5th edition, to satisfy some other business goals, we decided to do an Indiegogo campaign for a couple of reasons. Number one, to build excitement about the book, but also Indiegogo gives us the ability to kind of pre-sell the book and then get some of the cost out of printing, because we can order a 2,000 to 3,000 print run of the book versus a 300 copy print run, which is what we've been doing. And so I can get a certain level of discounts when I'm buying them 300 at a time. I can get a certain level of discounts when I'm buying them 2,000 to 3,000 or more at a time. And so, so the Indiegogo campaign gives us the ability to do that. The Indiegogo campaign gives us the ability to kind of step back and stop doing what we're usually doing to promote the book or to do our other things, and to kind of get focused on accomplishing just this big rock versus plate spinning a whole bunch of other things like we're usually doing. And so we engaged Autonomy Unlimited to help in that. And so what I'm going to share right now is just to kind of give you guys like a little look into the back end of how we arrange our work and how we schedule our work and how we keep track of multiple projects. I'm going to give you a tour through our Trello board. And this Trello board right here is based on kind of, if anybody's ever heard of a Kanban board, popularized, by Japanese productivity and management techniques. But the idea is that if you're doing any kind of team-based collaboration, that your team should have a big visible chart. And the big visible chart is the big board that usually sits, if you're a software developer, in your software team room where your team meets, either for your stand-ups or for your sprint planning sessions or for just your meeting room, so that everybody can see where you are in the process. And so this is typically called a big visible chart. Trello is an example of how do you take a big visible chart and then digitize it, so people all over the world are looking at the same big visible chart, even if they're looking at it on a laptop and not looking at it up on a big screen in the team room. Everybody can kind of see it. And then Trello gives you the ability to add kind of the best of project management techniques, and project management techniques range from being able to set deadlines on these cards, and to be able to see it in a calendar view, to be able to set alarms for things that need to have alarms set on it, to be able to prioritize things. But the main thing that you're doing is you're giving yourself a overview of everything you're doing in this project. And for me, that is adopted Trello as my company-wide project management skill. It doesn't matter if I'm in the PR or the marketing board, or I'm in a different board. Let's say I'm in websites and e-commerce board. That board is going to have the exact same kind of format as the other boards that I use, so that when I go from project to project to project, everything's in the same kind of format. I know where to find it. I know how to use the tool. I know what we're doing, what we're going to do, and what we're done. And so I can have different ways of displaying data for different teams. But in essence, all the boards are the same, in the sense that it starts out with a list of lists. So Trello is a list of lists. To do, doing, all of these are individual lists. This is a list of the things that we're doing. This is a list of the things that we're to do. And then as you move over, there's both kind of reference lists and there's individual lists for like graphic design. And so these are the graphic design assets that are moving through our process. This is specific things that Autonomy Unlimited is doing. Some of it may, refer to our existing and ongoing market. Some of it might be specific to the Indiegogo. And every card has a front and a back. And so this is the front of the card, and you can haul it around, and you can prioritize it. You could say, hey, this video that we're working on is more important than this launch plan right now. Or you can say, no, this is the most important thing that we're doing. And then that's the front of the card. When you click on the card, you get what I call the back of the card, or what's called the back of the card. And the back of the card is, number one, who's working on this card. So who's working on this sub project to the sub project. And so that's Grant Ellman, it's myself, And that's Stephanie, who is a PR specialist with Autonomy Unlimited. And so there is, on the card, there is a description. The description is, what are we supposed to be doing, or what is the, like what's going on, the basics, etc. And then there is attachments, and these can be, something that is explanatory, or this can be something that is being used in the campaign, or something's being created for the campaign, or whatever it is. It's the date that it's due. So there's a capability to give it a due date with a reminder, which is always good. There's the ability to give it a label. And so we could say, hey, this is a priority. This is on fire. Okay, this is one of our priority items. And then you've got a label that everybody knows that, you figure out what your priority things are. You can give it a checklist, and a checklist, you can create one from scratch, or you can copy them from a different tag that you've got. And I'll just see if I can get one. Let's see as an example here. Actually, I'll skip it. It looks like a checklist. You can give it all kinds of custom fields. You've got capabilities to move cards to different lists, to copy cards so that you can duplicate them to different lists, things like that. But the main thing is that once you assign somebody to this card, they begin to get updates on what is going on in this little sub project. And then when you come to the card and you put your information in the card, then all of the communication in this card stays in context to this sub project. So instead of like email, which may, is kind of out of context in the sense that, you might have 2 or 3 email threads going about the exact same project. If you keep it in context to the people that need to know about it, the people that would come to this card, that are assigned to this card, or that have some reason to be in this card, now what they're going to see is all the communication and all the action that has been done up until this time in chronological order, also with everything that has been that is related to the card, the assets, the examples, the files, whatever it is. You see here how when I wanted to give some information to a member of the team, I put the add a rate of sign, and I put their handle in the Trello universe. And when you put the add a rate of sign and their handle in the Trello universe, then they're going to get an email from the Trello system that has everything that I wrote in this like little comment right here in the email that they get from the Trello system. But when they, unlike a regular email, when they click on it, boom, they go right into the card, they go right into the assets, there's all the files. So you're reducing the amount of email that everybody gets, because everybody gets ridiculously new email, too much email, and you're keeping your boom, you've just put the person that you're emailing to everything that you probably were going to have to attach to that email anyway. There's the document, there's the file, there's the images, there's the whatever it is. And so now they're going to get less email, and the emails that they do get, put them right into the card where they get all of the assets. So so that is as an example of how we're doing some of the product management around this. But in essence, what our strategy is it is kind of we'll call it digital marketing 101. So we've got existing customers that have bought the book from 20 plus countries. We're going to be emailing, that's called a house list, and your house list is your customers that you know and you own, or that have signed up permission-based marketing. You've got to have people's permission to be able to email them. And so we have an email universe of about 7,000 emails of people that have either signed up for our newsletter or our information or bought our books in the past. And so we're teeing up an email, an email campaign that is going to reach out and touch those people. We're teeing up a social media campaign where what we've done, and one of the strategies is you can do good research, and you can, have kind of the best research on how organized crime runs the government and the media. But if you're being censored by the monopoly media, and you're being censored by the algorithmic censorship of Google, Yahoo, whatever, then you're not getting the information out to the people that need it. And so what our strategy has been to go brute force attack and go all platform. So we not only do we have, we're still using Fedbook and Twitter and some of those platforms, because there are some people that only get their news or their information from Fedbook and Twitter and those platforms. And so we're still fighting in that universe, but we've also created alternative accounts on all of the leading social media sites, including ones that are doing things to make themselves open source, decentralized, where there's no one throat to choke, where nobody can come and put a gun to Richard Grove's head and say, hey, you're going to take down Grand Theft World. There's nobody to put a gun to, because it's distributed on computers all over the world, not just on one single server. And so some of these alternative platforms that we're looking to use, they're distributed. So what's our strategy? Well, we're going to take the content from the new book, and we're going to syndicate it out in a content campaign where we're going to give something to somebody for free, our work product and information that will help them communicate the scam of the COVID to their friends and their family and their colleagues in an effective way, something that people desire, okay? And in exchange, we're asking for their email address so that we can email market to them in the campaign, and they can get the next new content that we release from the book. So we'll have a kind of 4-week campaign starting next week, where we'll begin to syndicate the content from the book, and we'll send it out to not just our newsletter list, but we'll syndicate it to friendly partners in the alternative media, where we have access to audiences that we would not have had access to just by emailing our own list. So we're going to put it on kind of sites for voluntarist readers, in a hope to be discovered by then. And then when they do discover us and they come and they say, hey, I want to get the next edition of that content, they sign up for our permission-based marketing, and now they're in our marketing flow, where we're going to drip irrigate them through the Indiegogo campaign, and we're going to offer them perks, and we're going to offer them premiums and t-shirts and hard copies of the book, soft copies of the book, and we're essentially going to allow them to pre-buy everything that we're already selling, just with, it's going to be, the 5th edition version of it. We're going to allow them to pre-sell it in a campaign that's going to create some excitement, as well as allow us to really focus on it the way that kind of NPR focuses on it for their pledge week. So we're going to have pledge month, where we're going to, ask our audience to step up. And in exchange, we're going to offer value. And the value that we're going to offer is we're going to offer the book at a discount over what you would have paid if you bought it when we're not doing the Indiegogo. We're going to offer stuff that you wouldn't have got: sticker pages, stickers, cool stickers for your laptop, cool stickers for your water bottle, whatever it is. And so we're going to offer perks and premiums. We're going to provide real value. And that's that's kind of globally the idea that I try and abide by, is I try and provide value in the world, to wake up your friends, your family, your loved ones, whatever. And in exchange, that's how I fund my operation, and my think tank is by giving something of great value at a reasonable price, and then trying to have excellent customer service and excellent everything, around a bookstore or a merchant that you would enjoy doing business with. And so part of the campaign is emailing our own list. Part of the campaign is putting the content, not just on our own social media sites, but putting the content on sites that have audiences that like to read about our topic, to be able to be exposed to new people that we might not have. And then once we drive people to our website, capture their email, and create an ongoing campaign to nurture them along until the end of the campaign, and then retain the right to email them in the future as we add new books to the store, or as we produce new books ourselves, or we're going to have another book coming out called Voluntarism. And then some of the other things that Autonomy Unlimited is helping us with is we've turned on what's called retargeting, and we're turning on banner ads, and we're testing how to are we going to be censored on some of these platforms, or can we use some of these platforms to cut through the matrix and profitably reach people that we would not have been able to reach otherwise. And so we're A/B testing a number of different ads that would run on the Facebook or the some of these different ad platforms. And then we're using a technique called retargeting, which is, so now somebody has come to your site. When they come to the site, they're interested somehow. They've found out about you. And so now ActiveCampaign adds a little piece of code to their browser called a cookie, and so that other websites in the ad distribution network recognize that this person has been to this site, and then that's how you get displayed an ad based on something that you're already interested in on all of the other websites in the universe that you go to. And so now you start seeing Government, the Biggest Scam in History pop up everywhere you go, and that is a technique called retargeting. In addition, we're going to be doing a press release. We're going to be releasing a song at the same time. So Grant Elman, who is the 50% of the conscious reggae group Presence, was inspired by my book to write a song that is coincidentally titled Scam. And so we're going to drop that song and that video that'll have some Easter eggs and references to Government, the Biggest Scam in History. And so we're going to simultaneously promote his song, which then promotes our campaign, and we're going to promote our campaign, which promotes his song. And so we are collaborating with another artist, in this case Grant Elman and Presence, so that when they drop their song and we drop our Indiegogo announcement, that we have more, the sum is greater than the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And so hopefully the fact that we're doing that together will allow each of us to reach audiences that we would not have reached in any other way. And then the final thing is that we're using video in the sense that we've got I went and rented a teleprompter, wrote a script, had help with copywriting and script development from Autonomy Unlimited. We put together, a roughly 5-6 minute script. We're trying to figure out what the final edit is going to look like. My man LD here has produced a magnificent first draft that we began to layer in images, music, things to make the video more effective. But the campaign also includes videography. It includes marketing photography. We're working with Autonomy Unlimited to create a bundle, which will be called a retail bundle. So now we've been selling these Friends bundles, but with the Friends bundle, you just get the book itself, or you just get the Liberator flash drives themselves. With the retail bundle, we'll have a bundle that will include what somebody that has a retail location would need to attractively merchandise the book and our flash drives at their retail store, whether that retail store was a coffee shop, a bookstore, a cafe, a yoga studio, whatever. They could get this retail bundle and they could set up in a very small footprint a little pop-up guerrilla bookstore, and that pop-up guerrilla bookstore will have a book easel to hold the book in an attractive way. It will have signage that everyone would need to see what the offer is, to be able to take a look at the offer. There will be a little business card holder where they can, let's say they don't want to buy it right now, but they're really interested. They can grab the little card and they could take the little card with them, and then they can, it's the reminder, it has the web address on it. And so we're going to make it easy for people that have retail locations to profitably distribute the book in their locations. And so we're aligning the incentives of people that want to wake up their friends and family with the ability to make money and share in the profits of the book in a way that we believe will expand the distribution footprint for what we're doing. And then finally, I had a bit of epiphany, and I'm going to do the exact same thing for a little mini library of liberty, where where these neighborhood libraries, where people are already putting in these neighborhood libraries. Well, hey, what if you buy a fully stocked neighborhood library, okay, that we deliver with all the books in it and all of the flash drives, and not just my book, but the Tuttle Twins, and maybe Tragedy and Hope, and maybe The Most Dangerous Superstition by Larkin Rose, maybe, a whole bunch of titles, Library of Liberty, along with information from Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. And maybe you could rent DVDs of A Noble Lie, or a history lesson with John Taylor Gatto, or the list goes on and on. And then boom, when we ship it out, we've got a little card in each of the books or each of the DVDs that says, hey, if you want to buy this, you have to return this to the little lending library. But if you want to buy it, you can buy it. Just fill out this credit card information, or scan this QR code for crypto or whatever it is. And now they get to take it home. And then when we get that, when we get the little, postage paid card that has their credit card information in it, and for the sale, we send a new copy to the guy who's running the little mini library in his neighborhood. And now it's not just a mini library, it's a little mini bookstore. And so that's one of the ideas that I had is, hey, we can make these little mini libraries, we can make them little mini bookstores. And then the guy that says, hey, I'll drop $900 to put one of these in my neighborhood. Now he's got a mechanism where he can get his money back over time as people buy and hold and keep these books for themselves, or documentaries, or whatever it is. And so that is a new idea in the marketplace of ideas. That is an original Howard Lichtman, Etienne de la Boetie idea that we're going to test in the marketplace of ideas, and we're going to see if that is actually going to work, and how fast the payback is, and whatever it is. But these are the kind of the ways where the Art of Liberty Foundation is experimenting with how do you get around the algorithmic censorship of the media? How do you get around the monopolization of the media? And so we call it a brute force attack on censorship. You're going out on every single channel, not just a small handful. You're looking at next generation open source and decentralized channels, trying to figure out which one is going to be ultimately the best, and be able to take the biggest mind share away from Facebook. You're going out, you're making our publications, we're making them distributable in a way where each node on the network can create other nodes. So somebody says, hey, I'm going to distribute this in my coffee shop or in my cafe, and put up one of these like little retail displays. Now maybe somebody picks that book up, and then they've got a retail display, or they've got a retail store, so they put it out. So we're trying to figure out, how do you make this, how do you make this viral to be able to get around the censorship? And then how do you cost effectively reach your customers? And so that's, can you do that with internet-based ads? Can you do it with these networks? Can you A/B test the ads to make sure that they're effective? How can you improve your email deliverability so that your email messages are actually getting through to the 7,000 emails that we own? So we're taking a look at things like that, and we're just sharpening and honing the way that we do business. And like I said, we're hoping to, kind of continue this. And our goal is to sell millions of books, and we want this to be the book that widely exposes the illegitimacy and the criminality of the government. And we're constantly trying to figure out, how do we make it better? How do we get the cost out of it? How do we more effectively distribute it so that we can widely expose the illegitimacy and criminality of government? And then how do you and then the other thing the Art of Liberty Foundation works on is, how do you roll it back, and what are the alternatives? And so we're also working on a book called Voluntarism, how the only ism safe, or the only ism fair for everyone, leads to harmony and prosperity for all. So what we've discovered by focus grouping the book over the past 2 years is, the feedback we get is that we do a really good job of explaining how intergenerational organized crime runs the government and the media, but what are you going to do? Who's going to build the roads? We got to have government. And so to address that deficiency in the book, I'm writing a new book called Voluntarism that will have the same picture-based approach, executive summaries, but links and end notes for the people that want to do the deep dives. It will be supported by a new Liberator flash drive that will have videos, short videos, documentaries that support voluntarism, to get the best resources of voluntarism supporting the book on a flash drive that will accompany that book. And then our final goal, is to make a Swiss flip, ultimately, where the front cover of voluntarism is the back cover of Government, the Biggest Scam in History. And so whichever way, you're either reading the problem, government, or the solution, voluntarism, in the same book, depending on which end you flip to first. So it's the problem and the solution. And then we want to do the exact same campaign that we did with the Indiegogo campaign, take the lessons that we learned in doing this Indiegogo campaign, do another one to launch voluntarism for the exact same reasons. We can do a bulk buy, get the cost down, make it more cost effective. We can leverage the excitement of the Indiegogo platform. We can reach people on that platform that might not have heard of us. And so those are kind of a little bit of an overview of like our marketing strategy and tactics. And then I thought I'd open it up to any questions, either on our Liberty Foundation, what we're doing with this specific campaign, or anything that you want to ask me.
Hey, Howard, can you hear me?
I can. Good to see you, Michael.
Yeah, pleasure. Man, I'm really excited about all this, and I'm certainly glad that you did this on Do It Live, because I do feel like this is a great opportunity for Autonomy and Autonomy Unlimited to kind of display how we can collaborate with other content creators. And in your case, I think there's you've got a great plan. You've kind of outline this great strategy and some of these tactics that I think we can all learn from, because this is how the system in a lot of ways has overran us in a lot of different circumstances, is because they've had this long-term strategy and tactics that for the most part nobody's been educated on, and certainly no one's giving us examples of how to do it. And you're basically demonstrating this right out in front of us, and I'm really excited about that. In the presentation of the course last night, there was a video that was called The Rope. And in that, the guy says, the truth compels action. And I think a lot of people are afraid of the truth because it requires, that when you see the truth, it's like, you got to move. There's like no other way. It's like do or die kind of time frame when people come to the truth. And this is, to me, this is, one of those examples where you get the truth out in front of people, and you make it so easy for them to start digesting the truth and at least discussing the truth with other people, that now it starts to become clear that it's time to take action, that we don't have any more time to wait. It's our freedom is on the line here. And, there's got to be done, but there's got to be that wake up call. And I feel like this is a perfect example of all these things kind of coming together, and and really an offer in which all these different parties that you kind of outlined, whether they be influencers or copywriters or book publishers, content providers, all these people coming together and seeing, hey, this is how we can make things work. This is how we can use a system that works for us to propagate the truth.
Also, I would throw onto that is I'm trying to make it easy for people to resist. I'm trying to take resistance and make it in little, baby steps, whether the baby step is taking the book and putting it out on your coffee table as at an Airbnb, or whether it's you've got a retail location and now you could set up this like little, little mini, kind of, guerrilla pop-up bookstore, whatever level you're comfortable with. I'm trying to make it easy for people to resist.
Yeah. I got a little more of a technical question here, and that's in regard to, kind of the project management. That's kind of one of my things. You described kind of the Kanban or agile kind of methodology for project management, which I think you do a great job of that too. By the way, I think this is a great demonstration that a lot of people can learn from. But I do see a weakness in Kanban, which is kind of out, which I kind of grew up in the Gantt chart days of project management. And there are some things about it that I don't see the Kanban addressing. And that is, like with a Gantt chart, you're looking at the total picture and you're kind of piecing together the individual tasks into kind of a process that you've got, successors and predecessors. And that kind of gives you the critical path, which gives you an idea of how long it's going to take to get something done, for the whole project. When it comes to the critical path, how do you gauge that? How do you know what are the things that are on the critical path versus what are the things that aren't on the critical path?
So to back it up and to give everybody listening some news they can use, and just a little bit more information about how all this works together in a kind of comprehensive way. Michael mentioned something called Agile. And so the project management capability that I like the most is essential what's known as an Agile methodology. And in software development, where Agile really came up and made its name, even though I use parts of that strategy for things that aren't software development. But in software development, the idea is that you would have a big visible chart, and Trello is an example of your big visible chart. You would have a sprint planning session. So you would divide the work up in a sprint planning session where the entire team would come together and they'd say, okay, let's throw on our big visible chart, using the big visible chart is in the planning session. Let's figure out, what our to-dos are. And so they'd start building this doing list, and then they'd begin kind of prioritizing the doing list as to what is the most important thing that they need to be working on right now. They'd figure out who's assigned to each of those tasks, and then they would have a daily meeting in Agile that's called a stand-up. And in this daily meeting, that is not to go over 15 minutes, in essence, every person on the team would say, here's where I am today. This is what I'm working on. So there's a little bit of social focus and social, you're telling your team you're going to get this done. So now you kind of have to do it if you publicly stood up and said you're going to do it. But also there is this ability to see what your blockages are and to see what you're waiting on, and to be able, with the entire team there, going, well, wait a minute, I need Michael to do this first before I can do that. And then you're like, oh yeah, Michael, so that's going to be a priority. And so Michael knows that's a priority, that you're blocked until he gets that done. So you figure out what all your blockages are, and then you go back and then you do it. And there's some other aspects to it. So it's your time box. So let's say you're going to have a 3-week sprint. So in the software development world, one of the major problems that software developers face is people come and they go, oh, this customer, our major customer, needs this little capability. I got to get this in. We got to do this. And the developers in the Agile Scrum world go, sorry, we're in the middle of a sprint. We're not going to break the sprint, even no matter how important it is. So it gives them protection so that they're not, being, having stuff thrown into their wheelhouse that throws off the sprint and their ability to accurately predict, when they're going to, release the next version of the code. And so then at the end of the sprint, there's you review how you did, what went right, what went wrong, and then you plan your next sprint planning session. And so that's the way they do it in software development. I essentially take aspects of that and then use that in my own projects. And aspects that I use are the big visible chart, using Trello for that. I use the sprint planning session. So we're going to have a kind of time box thing. We're going to, work for 1 month on getting this Indiegogo set up. And these are the things that we're going to have, by the end of the Indiegogo. And this is how we're moving it along the, the line. We don't do daily stand-ups. We could, if we were on that, if it was that kind of workflow. But essentially we have a meeting a week, which is kind of like a stand-up. We don't necessarily use Trello the way that I would, because I'm in a little bit of a mixed environment with doing the way Autonomy Unlimited does work with Discord and their own thing. So it's kind of a mixed environment. I'm 100%, I'm not mandating this 100% for the project, but we still, essentially do the same thing, in this kind of, weekly Tuesday meeting we have. And so those are some of the and then, we'll have, at the end of this, I'll sit down with Joshua and Richard and the team, and we'll go over and we'll say, hey, we did this good, we did this bad, we'll and then we'll do another sprint planning session, and then we'll do the next month. But that is the way that methodology doesn't necessarily have to be used with software development. It can be used in just kind of regular, IT project management, or even, doing stuff, with your wife around the house kind of a thing. But it is the gold standard. It is the best practice, to get everybody on the same page, and then, have a methodology to work through something complex. And so the umbrella term is agile methodologies. Scrum is where you're doing a daily stand-up along with it. Sometimes you hear it referred to as agile Scrum or agile or Scrum. Either of those could be used interchangeably. And that is my my way of implementing it into just general IT project management.
Awesome. Well, I would, my background is construction and buildings and so forth. And, obviously software development is a little bit different than that, of course. And there are, I do feel like that kind of project management does lend to getting things done in like the short term and kind of milestone type circumstances. And I think there is a longer term kind of outlook that can be put in place. And then I also think, in regard to tasks and what I think will be the wave of the future, micro tasks, in which people are really getting into specialties where their expertise are really being exploited because they do the things that are really what they do well. And we leave those other things to other people. But I do feel, project management is one of the things that, I'd like to see Autonomy Unlimited offering. And certainly this is an opportunity to really kind of display how this stuff works and, how excellence is, is displayed when it comes to project management. So I'm very excited about what you're doing here, Howard, and the opportunity to really demonstrate that and, possibly develop more skill sets and talents that Autonomy can then offer to clients out there in the rest of the world, as well as show people that are, looking to develop their talents, that that's something that they can come to Autonomy and get more experience with.
Thank you.
So I jumped in a little bit late. I don't know if you might have covered this question in the beginning, Howard, but the Trello service, does that have like a free trial or a way of like having it for like a week with just limited functionality? Does it have anything along those lines?
It does. They just switched the billing, the way that they bill for the service, and so now it's a freemium model. The basic service is free. It's software crippled. You can have a certain amount of boards, so you can kind of test it. Like you can do I've turned people onto Trello, and they do everything from their grocery list to like share you can have a grocery list card where you and your if you're using Trello, you and your significant other can both add things to it, and then whoever's at the grocery store looks at the card and then gets the groceries. But there's all kinds of use cases that you can use. The basic is free. The next step up is $5 per user per month, and then the next level is $10, and then there's an enterprise level, and then the person that has the board can invite people to the board, and then depending on what they're doing, that counts on whether it's a seat or not. And I'm not 100% sure like what the just being able to look at the board versus like having to pay for the seat. I don't know what the denominator is. It's literally, they just changed it over for me like this week. So, but I'm paying $75 a month, just to give you an idea of like what my spend is for myself and 5 other seats.
Okay, yeah, that was going to be my next question. Like, do you have 7 people accessing it, or is that the executive? What's the executive package?
So I mean, that's what I'm still trying to figure out. But like, there's 12 people on this board right here. So there's 12 people that have access, can view this board, and can be assigned to projects in the space. and then there's 2 people that have been invited.
And how many boards can you control with that, with your investment level?
So again, they just switched me over, but I've probably got over, I've probably got 24 boards. And so I'm going back to projects that I did for customers, like, years ago. So like I keep some of my old clients, boards active, just because there's, like reference stuff there. But I've got, different boards. Some of them are personal, some of them are thick red line projects, some of them are to Liberty projects, some of them are, the book I'm working on. This one is the next book I'm working on. This one is how we're doing the 5th edition. This one is from a graphic design company that I have that also uses Trello. And then they gave me access to their board so I can assign projects to them in Trello, and they use Trello. And so then that board is, just out here. And then some people like, this is George Webb. I don't know if you guys know George Webb, but like this is his board on DynCorp crimes. And he went and he organized DynCorp crimes by country. And he's using Trello to, organize, evidence of criminality and who the players are at DynCorp, as an example of other things you can do with Trello. And this is George Webb's board that he shared with me.
All right, if I could switch gears over to the book and some of the packages that you have, I really love the idea of the the mini library that you can purchase out of that becomes a bookstore. That's amazing. I've never heard of that before. I've been in love with the concept of these neighborhood libraries, but turning it into a neighborhood bookstore, I really love it. Although, depending on the area, depending on the neighborhood, the question is, are they going to actually, return the book? Because most of the time, whenever I've dropped books off, I'm just like, okay, they're gone. I'm never going to see it again. I don't expect it to be returned. What kind of loss prevention is there for doing the book sales that way?
Well, so in essence, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to figure out, so one of the projects that we're working on is how do you free a single state? And so what if I think that there's people that might put these in New Hampshire, as an example, on their own nickel with no expectation of getting paid back, because they want to get the ideas of liberty out there. There's a group in New Hampshire called Granite. What is it called? Granite something, that they put little mini libraries of liberty into laundromats, and they only put like 20 books, or just like a little thing of 20 books up. But somebody. So what I see is that this is for the person that kind of almost would have done it anyway and would have made the gift anyway, but now, like Kiva, I don't know if you're familiar with the charity Kiva, where it's the opportunity to get paid back and then loan again. And so then maybe that person, after they get paid back from library number 1, puts out library number 2. And so I do think that there is 100% going to be some loss and some shrinkage from these bookstores. But the idea is how do we get how do we get around the censorship of the monopolization of bookstores, the Amazonification of bookstores, the fact that Amazon is openly censoring, certain books and products on their site, and that there's only a handful of monopoly bookstores, and you have to work through, some, corporation headquarters in New Jersey to try and get your book into a monopoly chain bookstore, versus, how can you, think outside the box and rethink what a neighborhood bookstore could be, rethink the model of the neighborhood bookstore or the neighborhood library into a bookstore. And so boom, you've just now innovated and figured out a way where now there's an incentive, a financial incentive, to put your bookstore and your information in the neighborhood. Or in, these little mini bookstores could be in a regular, it could be an end cap at a regular bookstore. It could be an end cap at a comic book store. It could be, there's so now you're getting around, getting your stuff into other locations as well by making it, handling all the merchandising aspects, making it attractive to put out, making it easy for the customer with the signage and the, and the book easel and everything that they need to do the merchandising and the retailing of it.
One of the first use cases that popped into my mind is, all of the Freedom Fests, the Pork Fest, the Float Fests.
Yep.
That'd be a great opportunity for those. But along those lines, if I wanted to say get a bulk order of the government conspiracy book, your book, and then like have that a pop-up stand at the Freedom Fest, say 50 of them with like a little display thing. Is that a product that you guys offer?
Yeah, well, in essence, so like people are already doing that. And I found out the other day, and you can go check this out for yourself on eBay, but somebody has been buying our 10 packs of books we sell like 10 books for $100. And so that's $10 a copy if you buy it in bulk. And they've been reselling them on eBay for $38 a pop. And you can actually see this. You can actually see the sales history on eBay where, $38, $38, $38, $38. You can actually see how many times they sold it. And at first I was kind of like mad. I'm like, I'll go, look, he's getting $38 and I'm getting 10. And then I'm like, no, I'm glad that happened. That was like, I'm like, whoa, wait, now I got to think about that in an entirely different way. I'm glad that somebody is making money distributing this in a way that I had not thought of yet, or, and getting it out there to people that I would not have reached otherwise. And so they did, they're doing a service to me, but they're making money doing it. And so it's like a triple bottom line business kind of a thing. Triple bottom line business is a business that's good for the environment, good for the customers, and good for the stakeholders as well. Yeah,
that's an awesome price point too. Like having 300, 200, 280% profit on that. That's great.
Yeah.
What would be what all comes with because like what I've got in mind is at the next Float Fest. I think Float Fest is the next place I'm going to be at next April. And I want to have some type of display. Like, do you guys have like the cardboard type displays that you see in some of these bookstores that would be able to have it on there?
So the innovations that Autonomy Unlimited is helping me make with the book is so instead of just getting 10 copies of the book or 10 flash drives, you get this like little mini merchandising kit, and the merchandising kit has the sign that has the price on it and what the deal is. Like we sell the flash drive for $25, the book for $25, but we cut you a deal for $45 if you get the bundle. So the signage explains that. It has a book easel, and the book easel will allow you to open up the book to like a certain page and like just kind of like artfully displayed in a way that makes people want to kind of like grab it off of the book easel and pick it up and read it, kind of a thing. And then it has these cards that, okay, they're not ready today, maybe they haven't got paid yet or whatever, but they grab a card so they keep it in your mind. And so then that's like an extra $50. And so let's say you buy the retail kit for $250, and that's 10 Liberators, 10 books, 10 Liberators and 10 physical books. So if you sold everything, that would be like $500. But when you go to reload it the next time, you've already got the merchandising kit, so you can reload it for $200 instead of $250, and you're going to make even more margin on the next books that you sell because you've already got the merchandising kit.
Okay, and in that merchandising kit, you get the signage and the easel, and then I think there was one other item as well.
Yeah, there's going to be a little business card holder, and in that business card holder, you'll get like 50 business cards that have information about the book and the website on it, so they can go and maybe download the free preview copy, or the lead magnet off of the website, and then the next time they're in your store, they're like, okay, yeah, I got the free one, I want to get this one, you know, like I checked it out. And so so then they have that option as well.
Okay, awesome. And where can I find these offers at?
So it's not yet. So this is all we're building up to a launch on 11/11. And so
Okay.
you guys, Autonomy Unlimited will kind of be in the driver's seat as we launch this. You'll be in the passenger seat with us as we launch the whole thing on the 11th, and you'll see all of the elements that I just described to you kind of come together, and you can take a look at our landing page, and you can take a look at the Indiegogo page, and you can take a look at the Indiegogo video that we produced, and you can kind of get a feel for how all these different components came together to produce the Indiegogo. And then after you leave our site, you'll be retargeted. So now you'll begin seeing ads for it all over the internet until you friggin' buy it, and you'll get to see how all that works in tandem starting on the 11th.
All right, awesome. I think I'm tapped out on questions. Other than, do you have a package that comes with some of the Natural Law is the Only Law shirts?
No, yes, I'm about to strike a deal with Milena, and we are soon going to have those sites on the site as well. I don't know if I'll have a package, but they will be on the website. And so yeah, like I coming soon to a web store near you.
All right, awesome. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Phoenix.
Hey, Howard, how's it going, man?
Good.
Say, you know, we talked at Pork Fest about Pirate Box and your ideas about putting a portable Pirate Box in a guy's backpack. Well, that model is really kind of obsolete now because there's not too many schools are doing, I guess, basically obsolete because, you know, everybody's doing homeschooling and it's remote locations. So you don't have a big group of people in one central location now. I don't know. I'd like to get your thoughts about that. And I have modified the Pirate Box quite a bit since I spoke to you there in Pork Fest. So it has a web server. We could actually put your government is the biggest scam website actually on there and distribute it that way. Whether it's portable or not, it's another matter. I also had some questions about your project management. I'm kind of like Dennis back in the day when I was doing that type of thing. I was on the Gantt chart kind of bandwagon as well. That was what I used for project management. And my concern with facilities like Trello is the centralization of them. I mean, yeah, all your plans, all your details are on there. And if for some reason the ownership of Trello changed and the government said, hey, we need to shut down these whole series of projects, and you were one of them, then what would happen to the efforts that the team was undergoing at that point in time?
It is definitely that is definitely a worry, especially with the centralization of it. I try and keep so this is not like I've got a backup strategy in addition to Trello, so that there should be nothing that's on the Trello board that I don't already have on my hard drive as well. And so like I'm always kind of trying to think in that direction. I'm backing up my my hard drive every single week to a physical kind of backup. I've got most of everything backed up to Dropbox. And then if we get kicked off of Dropbox, we just created additional redundancy in Mega. And so we're going to have it for like some people that are on Mega, they can just boom, click a button and just download everything from our Liberator folders to their Mega folders. And so that's something that we're working on. For the people on the call that don't know what a Pirate Box is, a Pirate Box is let's see if I got a picture. Let's see. We called it Liberator Wi-Fi, but a Pirate Box is a Raspberry Pi computer that I don't really have it. I thought I had more information on it here, but it's a Raspberry Pi computer that can serve as a file server, whether or not it's connected to the internet. So it's a Raspberry Pi computer with a Wi-Fi chip that's broadcasting an SSID address that when you connect to it, instead of getting internet connectivity, you're getting a bulletin board that says, hey, you have now connected to my Pirate Box server. Here are the files that are available to you on my Pirate Box server. And on that Raspberry Pi mini computer, there's an SD card that has all of the information that we would put on our Liberator flash drive. We'll put it on this SD card, and we could put it into a school, and the SSID could be what the government's hiding from you or something else equally descriptive. And when the students connect to it, they get a little bulletin board that says, hey, we're having to, go to extremes to get around the censorship of the monopoly media and the algorithmic censorship of the government's DARPA front companies, to communicate to you that government is illegitimate and that there's a hidden curriculum in this school of obedience and fealty and adoration to the government and statism. And we're putting this Pirate Box here so you can see all the evidence to support that claim. And here are documentaries and PDFs and short videos and memes and everything else. And people can just download it directly to the Pirate Box. So they're connected to it like they would be on a Wi-Fi, if they're connected to Wi-Fi, but it's no Wi-Fi. It's just using this little mini computer that we've hidden in the school, or a student has put into their backpack, or a student is put into their locker, or a student is put into a bird feeder outside powered by solar that just constantly broadcasts, to the classroom, to the courtyard where everybody eats their lunch, and you're able to kind of sidestep it. And so that's a technology that we've been experimenting with. And unfortunately, the guy that was heading that up, his wife passed away last year, and we haven't been able to really put it into production. But Thomas Friedman, who's on the call here, is also a Liberty rock star, and he runs something called the Pirate Box Project. And he is actually innovating and improving pirate boxes so that they can do everything that I just described and so much more. And so if anybody has any proclivities in that area, Thomas, what's the URL of the Pirate Box site and the channel, the Telegram channel, if anybody has any interest in?
Yeah, the best place to go for the Pirate Box to get information for the Telegram channel, as well as Discord. Discord is really the central hub for all the information. The other two sites that I have are really for the contest, which we aren't really doing the contest anymore, but they can get all the information from that site, and that's piratebox.info. Piratebox.info is the central location to get everything.
Yep. And the final thing I'll say is that one of the donors to the Our Liberty Foundation has pledged $1,000 that when we actually get the Pirate Boxes up and running, he wants to put 10 Pirate Boxes into 10 New Hampshire high schools. And his only caveat is there has to be a student in each high school that is willing to take a kind of First Amendment stand and just not just put it up there, but be the like ambassador. And so I kind of hook that up. But if you know anybody that could be that role, we're looking for that too. I'd love to pick this back up. But that's kind of one of the many things that we're working on. One of the many plates that I'm spinning at any given time is the Pirate Box plate. And I got time for one more, and then I've unfortunately got to get onto the road because I'm driving cross country today.
Hi, hello. I just wanted to ask if you care if I would provide you contacts for a Polish publishing company that, in according to what I see, they are putting out there in form of books for Polish market. They would, I think they would be interested in maybe translating and putting out your offer into the Polish market, and maybe you can speak with them also about your books, because they are now starting on US market.
Yes, that's me. Yeah, I'm about to leave any second now. So I'm only about 5 minutes. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, now I've got to go too for another reason. But anyway, yes. So Marcin, that would be excellent. One of the ways that one of my strategies for the book is I would like to see the book translated. I would like to see individual editions for other countries. So in the book, I compare, the techniques in Nazi Germany, the Soviet Union, East Germany, and the United States. I would like to essentially take out the version for East Germany, and I would like to have a Polish version, and it would like it to be in Polish, and the cover would be Polish, and then a lot of the format would be the same in the sense of, we're showing you what the techniques are. We're showing you how it manifests in Poland. We're doing it in Polish. The memes are a little bit different, but the format of the book and the intention of the book to be able to take somebody from 0 to 60 in the shortest amount of time, to leverage the fact that most people are visual learners, to leverage the fact that most people will engage with a picture book way more than they would a text-only book. To leverage the fact that the revelation of the method, the repetition of the method, the humans as pattern recognition machines, using visualization to make what was invisible visible, use all the same techniques, but have individual versions for every country where it makes sense. And so I talk about that a little bit in the back of the book. But if you have somebody in Poland that could help me with that, part of it is somebody to kind of fund that. And then part of it would be somebody that could write it in the sense that they understood the ideas of volunteerism, they understand the political situation in Poland, they understand how these techniques have manifested themselves. But those are really the two pieces of the puzzle that I would need to do a regional copy. Would be somebody to pay for it, and then somebody that could be the project lead for that country, that would be the writer that would take the format and just create the exact same book for Poland using a format that has already been successful here in the United States.
I see. Thank you. So that's also for other countries, it's the same principle. Yes?
Yes, exactly. How do you get a book how do you design a book that takes somebody from 0 to 60 that you can distribute widely to get around the algorithmic censorship of the internet and the monopolization of the media by giving it door to door, hand to hand, by being able to have, guerrilla pop-up bookstores. So part of it is we're innovating in how to communicate the information. Part of it is we're innovating in how to distribute the information. And so we want to take the lessons that we learned in the United States to every other country. And my goal is 100 million copies globally. But I'd love to sell, 1 million copies in Poland.
Excellent. Thank you for your time, and safe trip and your discoveries.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks to Richard and Joshua for putting this together. It has been my pleasure. And you can find my contact information at government-scam.com or artofliberty.org if I can be of any further assistance. And thank you guys for having me.
Thanks, Howard.
Thanks, Howard. That was a wonderful job. You're like a fish in water. We just needed to provide water.
Thank you,
Have
Richard.
a great trip.
All right, I got to hop. Bye-bye.
Howard.
Peace.